Hey, folks, and welcome to episode 4 of the Go Send Global podcast. I'm your host, JP Ashworth, and this is the host, Nathan Norman. And today we're going to talk about some of the projected long-term results that we're looking at with some of our in-country missionaries and some of the results that we've seen, that have been going on, for about 6 to 8 months, like Joe over in Kenya or something.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
We're seeing some cool things happening because we're joining into their ministry that's already in existence. We are not coming in and saying, do this, do that. We're just saying, what are you doing? How can we come and walk beside you? I think of Rocio in Costa Rica, who started in a garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just starts doing ministry, and the effect that she's having, because those kids she started long ago, maybe 8-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the effect she's having now is these kids are becoming leaders, and they're wanting to be baptized. They're serving in their churches. And that happened over a span of years. Now we're jumping in to even boost it farther. So we're excited to see these little kids grow into godly men and women that will transform their community. They're going to see Rocio every Saturday, and maybe more often if we can continue to get more funding for her, that she might be able to leave her job to do this full time. But we're going to see this grow exponentially because they're watching Rocio every Saturday. They know she has a job. They know that she's serving out of her own home,
Mm-hmm.
transformed her house to be able to feed these kids. So just the impact they have of somebody being there in country, in their community, one of them making a difference, making a sacrifice, is going to be exponential change in those communities. Because there's going to be kids that are going to look up to her and say, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to feed more kids.
Well, and and I know we've mentioned this young man in previous podcasts, but talking about the young person out there, preaching and doing their thing. The young man in Kenya who was around and had all those other kids. We'll have a little picture right up here on the screen.
Yeah.
We've talked about him before, and I need to contact Joe and find his name. I can't remember. I hate that I can't remember his name. But, I mean, he was doing it. He was getting it. He was. And, those kids that were around him, they're impressionable.
Right.
They're developing, and they're getting that kind of exposure early on. How many of those you think are going to go do the same thing?
Exactly.
So it's that exponential growth that we like to see as well.
I love that we can reach to, with Philip, who's reaching 100,000 people a year,
Mm-hmm.
to Joe, who's got a handful of kids or maybe 100 kids crammed into a room on a Saturday. But that one-on-one impact that happens too, that personal relationship and the mentoring that follows, with Joe helping now, not just reaching out to the children and the boys there, but also going, now I'm going to help your mom get out of poverty.
With the chickens.
Can you imagine the life change that happens when Joe approaches a mother who is struggling, living in the biggest slum in the world, that she sends her child every Saturday to be fed. Sometimes he probably grabs a little extra, puts it in his pocket to bring home to mom. And now Joe says, hey, I want to help you start a little chicken business. Right? We're not talking about a big field. We're saying 1 or 2 hens that lay an egg every day or every other.
Mm-hmm.
The impact those little things have that could get that mom and her children, because there's probably more than one child in that house or that unit. I don't even know if I can call it a house. In this slum area, that change and that impact is huge. I remember when Rocio got her first monthly supporter, and I was shocked. And I was shocked not by the generosity of people, but someone started giving $100 a month. And when it came through and I opened it up on the website, which I was checking constantly, it's coming.
Refresh.
The first one's going to be here, and we're going to, someday we'll be doing hundreds of thousands that we'll be able to give, know. But right now, when that first one came in, I literally just cried. And I said, God, you would use Go Send Global, you'd use me, but then you would allow us to empower Rocio. So what felt so little from one donor becomes this huge thing that now Rocio can count on this money every single month to be there at the end of the month when it gets wired to her, that she can provide for her own family and provide for these kids. That's exponential growth. It's that old thing of throwing a little pebble into a pond.
The ripple effect.
And the ripple effect, we don't see where those ripples are going, but we know they get bigger over time. And the consistency of having these local missionaries right there is just so profound that when that first donation came in, my wife's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, we got our first monthly donation and it's going to Rocio. Like, it's not going to my pocket, it's going to Rocio. And she's going to be able to do ministry and just frees her up so much. So that's just incredible to think about that long-term effect. One of the things that I'm really excited about And this has been on my heart for years, and I never knew how it would come to be. The last couple of years with working with a different nonprofit, I was able to do pastors' conferences, and a lot of that was incredible. It was probably my favorite thing that I was doing over there in different countries was jumping around doing these pastors' conferences. And it's like little Nate Norman. If anyone's watching that knew me back in the day, they're probably like, this was a guy that was scared to talk to anyone, was nervous, anxious, stressed out. And now God would use that to speak to other people. I didn't want to talk to anyone back then.
Right.
But we want to do more pastors' conferences. We want to encourage them, not just for their own personal career, but for the people that they're serving. We want them to be able to, as Jesus said, feed my sheep. They would be pastors who are rightly dividing the word of truth, God's word, that are delivering correctly. Some of these pastors have a lot of training. Some of them have no training at all. Maybe they're just throwing the keys to the church. And now they're like, wait, I'm going to lead this church. So we want to be able to empower them, to encourage them. We want them to stay in the game. Pastors and churches are closing, and pastors are leaving the church at an alarming rate.
Really?
I would say it's a pandemic in the world because they get so isolated and alone. So pastors are the key. We firmly believe in the local church. That's one of our core values, that we're going to support the local church, whatever it takes. And we want our local missionaries to be part of those things, to be part and embedded in a local church, and sending those kids to the feeding program, make sure they're connected to a church, someone else that's discipling them. So we want those pastors and churches to be strong. We want them to be secure. We want them to be healthy. We want those pastors to feel like they're not alone, that they have support. So we want to offer pastors' conferences in each of our locations. How the Lord is going to do that, we don't know yet. We're waiting to see, but it's just we continue to dream. But the thing I'm super, super excited about is we're going to host this year a young adult retreat in Costa Rica. Now, this is going to be for anyone age 18 to 30 that their pastor is saying these people are called to ministry. They're called to missions. There's something inside of them that's different. And I want to invest in that. That's something I've always been able to pick out from leading mission trips or being around when I was a youth pastor or being even at the current church where I'm serving. You can tell who's called to ministry. Sometimes it just stands out to me. And my goal is to have 100 of these young adults come together for a 30-hour experience, overnight at a retreat center, completely paid for. We want them to be so invested in this that they walk away from this moment changed. And what I mean is we're going to provide preaching. We're going to provide quiet times. We're going to provide worship experiences where they're going to hear biblical teaching of missions and the mandate we have to minister to others and to go to all the world. But can you imagine these 100 young adults after 30 hours? We're praying that in this 30 hours, they hear from the Lord, not only on their personal calling, but what is next? What's the next step? Are they going to start a nonprofit in their own country? Are they going to become a legal entity? Are they going to go to another country and go serve at another church or go do feeding programs in their own country, around the world, whatever it might be? But the impact that's going to happen after that 30-hour event is really going to test Go Send Global, because we're going to have 100 people, I believe, that not only are called to missions, but now they know where they're going and they know what their next step is. And then it'll be our job to mentor them through that process to get to where the Lord is calling them to.
So do you have a timeline about when you would but when you think that might happen? Because I know there's going to be our timeline, which is going to be probably a lot quicker than the actual timeline.
I believe this can happen this year, that we can do a pastors' conference to encourage them and also make sure the pastors have the heart for mission and for sending out. A lot of pastors in a lot of churches, USA and around the world, they're more interested in their seeding capacity than their sending capacity.
Oh.
And I think we need, I didn't make that up. I stole that, and I can't remember from who, but
I like it.
Imagine that we actually start evaluating the church on how often they're sending people, how often they're in the community, instead of just how many seats they can put in their building, how many people they can gather.
That's a good way to look at it.
So I believe this can happen this year. We're believing that the Lord's going to supply the funds to be able to do it and the right team to go to empower and invest in these pastors and these young adults. It's one of those things that if you get me talking about it, we can do like 14 podcasts just on this.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was young, I remember when people would invest in me and the calling that they saw in my life where I couldn't see it. Even still, I need people to come alongside and encourage me, say, Nathan, there's still something in there and you need to keep going.
Having that outside perspective, because you're so close to it, other people sometimes can see, hey, I'm noticing this. Have you thought about that? Oh, no, I didn't. But now that you mention it,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And I think, I'm sure that goes hand in hand when you talk to some of these local missionaries. Once they've gotten started, they tell you what they're doing. You see something in them because you are building relationships with them.
Yes.
It's not like a contract or a business agreement. It's a relationship, a partnership. And I'm sure that comes up where, hey, I see you doing this. Well, what about that? Oh, something they may never have thought of.
Yeah. So this young adult retreat idea, we're praying over right now. We're putting some steps, some action steps in there, and we're moving forward. Hopefully, this can happen even in November, is what I'm shooting for. As the year closes, we can gear up towards this. But my mind just goes to 100. Well, let's just say worst case scenario, 50% take the next step of who show up. So 50 of them decide to take that next step. Man, that the ripple effect that can come from that, just from us investing 30 hours in person with them, and then having follow-up steps that we can say, we're going to mentor you, we're going to follow you, help you along this process. We're going to teach you how to fundraise. We're going to help you get to the next step so that you can do the ministry that God's called you to. I just want to believe in people.
Right. So we're not going just, saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. You're going to go down there, so there is that support that GoSend gives by you, maybe other board members or volunteers going down to help out with those functions, correct?
Yeah. And when I made the name GoSend Global, when you're trying to name an organization, it used to be City Life Ministries. We were inner city ministry. And then a couple of years back during COVID, I changed it because I felt the Lord was doing something, but I didn't know the timing. And I was like, well, I want it to be about going, but I also want it to be about sending. Like, how in the world do we mix these two? But literally, we go so we can send other people. That was the heart behind it. If I can go and encourage other people and then send them out, man, that is multiplication beyond whatever thought I would be able to be part of and what our board would be part of.